third part of this series, I'll give you some advice as an experienced interpreter, a coordinator, and an experienced consultant in the sign language interpreting profession. Also, this video will have some moments of professional reflection, so please be ready to make some journal entries as you go through this video. I want to start with the idea that we must advocate for ourselves and be assertive as things arise. We may experience pressure and we'd want to avoid injury, so we want to focus on our scheduling and also the possibility that we may burn out. So I invite you to think about your work in the interpreting field as a long-term career. I want you to think, I want to be an interpreter for a long time, not a short time. And for that reason, for pressure and injury and burnout, there are other reasons as well. So sometimes you will experience pressure to accept assignments without a team or to stay longer, to, work without the needed support, to just accept assignments that are a different level than maybe what you might feel your skill is. So as interpreters, we have to be professionals and advocate for ourselves in those kind of situations. I want to start with the idea that you should be working on developing your professional contacts now. Keep your personal and professional contact information up to date. Also consider your social media. Now, I'm not saying that you have to look at what you post on social media. Either way, do you have to change who I am? Do I have to not be authentic? I'm not saying not to be yourself, but at the same time, I'm saying yes. If you become known in the field, it's such a small world. The world of sign language is so small that we must consider the impact of not considering our social media. So also from the very beginning of your classes, you should have already started to build your online portfolio. It could be on YouTube or Vimeo, anything kind of website that you can post professional content where we can access samples of your work. From the very beginning of your class, you should have already started to, and you should have been building your portfolio online. It doesn't matter if that's on YouTube, Vimeo, or any kind of professional website, because you have to ask yourself, where can we access a sample of your work? From now, let's talk about professional continuing education. As an interpreter, you have now committed to lifelong learning. You've committed to continued self-analysis, both professional and personal. And it means that we should be motivated and excited to learn from other professionals because that is your profession. So this means that continuing education should make you feel excited, and it should be something you look forward to because that is the art of what we do. But don't worry about if you don't feel some kind of excitement for a specific topic or for continuing education, that will come. You'll find it. Now, let's talk about professional continuing education. As an interpreter, you have now committed to lifelong learning. You've committed to continued self-analysis, both professional and personal. And it means that we should be motivated and excited to learn from other professionals because that is your profession. So this means that continuing education should make you feel excited, and it should be something you look forward to because that is the art of what we do. But don't worry about if you don't feel some kind of excitement for a specific topic or for continuing education, that will come. You'll find it. The deaf community and the interpreting community, without a doubt, always has the responsibility, the social responsibility of giving back. It's a pillar, it's a very important part of the profession, and it's the reason that all of us improve because somebody else has helped us, someone else has guided us or held us by the hand, given us some kind of support, maybe even an assignment that was a difficult challenge for whatever reason you can think of. And so you have to remember that now this includes you. And so it means that you have to consider this as how you will participate in your profession. How will you grow as a professional? How will you grow your skills? How will you improve and advance? Before, I mentioned that working as an interpreter could be lucrative. And that's true. But it's not because you're chasing money. It's because we're chasing that feeling that it gives us to do that kind of work and that feeling of community and sharing something together. So, with that in mind, I want to remind you we must be active and participate in the profession. It means stay up to date, stay current with the goals of the profession, with the language that the field uses to talk about the work. We must be a professional who is active in the field. So the rest of this video will now include some suggestions for you to do some professional reflection. Doesn't matter how many degrees someone has or certifications or how many fancy accomplishments someone may have, the letters next to their name on an email signature. No one, not one person has a degree in passion or motivation. And no one can teach you how to have either for the work that you do. Passion is important because it gives you energy to keep going in this profession. And so a question for you is I want you to reflect on this and consider, not just now, but at many different moments in your career. And the question is, as you see on screen, do you have passion for this work, for the work that you do? And if the answer is yes, where does it come from? You have to ask yourself, am I contributing to my profession? At this moment, you can now pause or hold the video to do your journal entry, have a discussion, or even post a comment. You have to be a decision maker. As a team interpreter and as a coordinator, I depend on your professional instinct, your professional response and reaction to inform my work. For example, when's the time to ask questions? When's the time to clarify information? And when must we maybe take a different approach? When do we have to explain something that perhaps is asked of the interpreter? When do I go ahead and explain? You have to consider these things always when you're working. And you must be, again, a decision maker. I want you to ask yourself now if you do this now in your everyday life. In the work that you do now, do you make decisions? It doesn't matter if they're simple ones. Some simple decisions seem very simple. Let me give you an example. Many times at an assignment, maybe they've placed the interpreter chair at a certain spot. And I arrive and I think, oh, it's not exactly right. But why is it sometimes that the team has already arrived before me and has gone ahead and sat down and doesn't move the chair? They just accept where they have placed us. But if you're a decision maker, that includes showing up and saying, hey, that's not right. Can we make this change? It's something so simple that can change the work that we do and the experience for all the people involved. And the reason that is because moving that chair is not only to make me more comfortable, but also the reason you're moving it is to make me more visible to the consumer. And I want to sit where I can hear better as well. So we're moving for a reason. And that means that that decision is important. A question for you to ask yourself: do I act with passion, or do I react with dissatisfaction? When you act with passion, you can solve more problems much quicker than if you wait and see a response. Sometimes your response or reaction is too late to avoid any other occurrence or any other problem. So we must ask ourselves, do I act with passion in my profession? Or am I reacting when something I don't like happens, or when something I don't agree with happens? For example, if there's something happens with an organization where we vote, do I complain because I don't like or disagree, or have I been acting to campaign against the vote they're taking, whatever the situation might be? Now, I want you to take a moment to ask yourself, I'm an interpreter now. Will this be my career, and do I envision a future here, or is it just a job? Why are you here? But without using the word help, what's the reason that you have chosen interpreting for work? And the last question, as you see here, is, do you have the passion to contribute to this profession? And if so, where does it come from? Take time to make your entry, your comment, or to post your comment. If you want to be viewed as a professional interpreter, you have to think, act, and dress as an interpreter. How many times have we arrived to an assignment without knowing who the team is, and we could immediately recognize who they are? It's because of their body language, their clothes, including how and where they're waiting. We can recognize the standard in the profession. We can easily identify other professionals in an environment, and that applies to us. So I'll say it again, if you want to be viewed as a professional, you must think, act, dress, speak the language of, and conduct yourself as an interpreter. So I want you to ask yourself, so far, have you been doing that to date? This may be something you can think about, like, yes, I've been on the right path. Or do you feel maybe something you could make some changes to how you present yourself as a professional? What you're doing right now is building your brand. You're building what someone thinks of when your name comes up. When your name shows up in my email, when your name shows up mentioned somewhere in a meeting, or what comes to mind about you? What do I envision? Oh, that person who always provides good quality service. That person that has really great skill, very strong interpreter. Or that person is always a great resource, always great on time. It doesn't matter what will come up when your name comes up. Don't be that guy. I don't have to tell you what happened with that person who's standing next to President Obama. I don't have to say it for you to know who that person is already. We know the story. We know what he did, and we know his level of skill as an interpreter. Why? Because he built his brand that way. So it's simple. Keep that at the back of your mind. I know that I'm being a little, I'm exaggerating a little bit, I'm being a little dramatic, but the reason I say that is I want you to understand what I mean. Everything you do is part of your brand as an interpreter, as a professional. So what service are you selling me? What kind of interpreter are you? We must define for ourselves our core or fundamental values, the same as any organization or business that has some kind of public facing service. There's a mission statement that allows people to know what kind of business it is and if they have social responsibility, environmental responsibility. And so you must also define your own values for yourself, but also for the community, for the public, so we can know what kind of interpreter are you? How is it that you approach your work? And I'll explain that your values help you to understand the CPC, the Code of Professional Conduct. And it helps you to interpret it for any given situation you might find yourself in. We're going to start with 3 parts. Your vision statement is your big plan and what and how it is you want to change the world. What would you give to the profession that you're now engaged in? So with that in mind, your vision can be inspired by the reason you're here. Remember, do not use the word help. Your mission is what you're going to do, what kind of work you're going to do to make your vision happen. How are you going to make that work? Your fundamental values, your beliefs, something that you won't give up, that's your boundary, it's your limit. It's as you reach your goal to your vision, there's something that you don't give up. This doesn't mean that this is the Arlene show, but every time I ask questions, I want you to know that I've done the same exercise and that I think about this, and I do personal and professional reflection also. So here's my example. My vision to participate in this field, I want to contribute to the next generation of interpreters, to their growth and their leadership in this field. I'm involved with the interpreting field, and right away I understood. I recognized the need for more leaders, especially more leaders that are Latino or speak Spanish. For me, that has really become a big part of my vision. It's what I'm looking for, and it's what I like to contribute to the profession. I always connect back to my vision. That's why I'm here. That's why I make these videos. Okay, my mission, something I never waver from, is I will use my voice at any given opportunity with honesty, sincerity, professionalism, and I include that in my boundaries, my ethics. How do I make my vision happen? I have to use my voice. Again, it's why I teach. It's why most of the time I receive, like, I'll receive requests for speaking. And I want you to know, I don't want you to think I love speaking. I'm scared sometimes too, but it makes me feel more comfortable. It helps me to do it when I remember my vision. If something is going to give me an opportunity to use my voice, I have to accept. Okay, so the third thing, what are your fundamental values? Working from a place of fairness is one of my things, fairness and equity. I believe that if you open a door, it's not your responsibility to turn around and hold that other person's hand behind you. Something is so important in me about that feeling of equity. And Where does that come from? Well, I believe that for me, it's how I was raised. I am one of four siblings. I have one brother, then two sisters, and I'm this second to the last. And I always felt like I struggled for that equity and fairness. So I kind of feel like that influenced how I raise my own daughter at home. How I work from a place of fairness as well. For example, like if we have children over, I treat them all the same. If I buy myself a new cell phone, I always think, oh no. Well, I have to tell you, my daughter's an adult now, but I think, how can I have a new phone and she doesn't have one? That's kind of a foundational thing that I have for me. It's important for me. So I see that that influences how I do my work and how I understand the CPC. And that also influences what kind of interpreter I am. Because many times, if something comes up that's some kind of ethical dilemma, the first thing I do is ask myself, is it fair? Is this equitable? That's the place where I start my analysis to start to understand how to approach the given situation. And so now for you, you have to respond the same way with your vision, your mission, and your fundamental values. You can pick one thing that helps you to reach your vision, your big plan. And the next slide, you'll see only the text so that you can look at it and make your entries or share in your discussion. Use your fundamental values as a guide to follow and interpret the Code of Professional Conduct. Also, to make ethical decisions. I'm going to leave this topic with this. We can't be a leader without being an effective leader. And what I mean by that is we have to think about effective leadership. I encourage you to approach volunteer work as actual work. The team is depending on you. So if you accept work as a volunteer interpreter, show up as an interpreter. Because everyone there doesn't know that you're there as a volunteer, but they do know that you're the interpreter. So approach that schedule the same way as you would work, meaning ask yourself, do I have time? Do I have the energy? Can I arrive on time? Am I able to prepare for that assignment? Make sure to respond to any type of business communication in a professional manner. Don't commit to too much work, including volunteer work, and also don't do something that you may resent later, including volunteer work. Doing things that makes us feel resentment can lead to burnout. It affects us in different ways, and it affects us and how we feel about our work. So it's important to have harmony and balance in the work that we do, including volunteer work. Remember, you are always building your brand. You're leaving your fingerprint in this profession.